Howdy folks, how's it going? Gabriel here. I'm here in Jasper National Park, getting late in the day, getting kind of blasted by the sun here, but I'm about to go for a hike down this trail here, get a little shade. Pardon the noise from some cars going along the road here. I'm looking out at Patricia Lake, and as you can see, some beautiful mountains. Up here is Whistler's Peak. There's a tram, you can't really see it, but almost at the top of that mountain there is a little structure, and there's a tramway that goes from the bottom of that mountain up to the top. You can get up there, get some amazing views. Alright, so I'm just going to keep on hiking down this trail here. So the topic of this video is there good and evil? And I'm a follower of the blog of Teal Swan. She writes regularly about events in her life and her various perspectives and spiritual adventures, out-of-body experiences and whatnot. I'll go ahead and put a link down below this video to her blog if you're curious to check it out. And then so she writes longer essays, but sometimes she just posts short little quotes for people to ponder. And last week then she posted one, and the quote said, and I'll just paraphrase here, basically all actions come from a positive intention. That everything that anyone in the world, or in the universe I guess, does, has a positive intention behind it. Even people who are blowing people up and, you know, stealing money and committing crimes and committing genocide and, you know, the worst things that you can imagine that people do to each other, there's still a positive intention behind it. And so the implication was that even if it doesn't look like a positive outcome from our perspective, then it was still a positive intention in terms of, I guess, getting something for yourself, or that you know you really thought that this was the best thing for the world, to get rid of all these people that you don't like because you're racist or whatever. To some extent, I can certainly see what she's getting at. But it depends on what you mean by positive. Because I do believe that all beings come from the same source, that we're all expressions of one being, one God, which was unified at one time and has since been separated, and so we're all expressions of the divine. Even Hitler was a part of God, a very twisted part of God that was at odds with God, with the loving part of God, but was still a expression of God. So I can't really say that her quote is right or wrong, but I can't say that I 100% resonate with it. And it is a little bit a matter of semantics here on what exactly do you mean by positive. But I do think that there can be a misunderstanding within the New Age community of this concept of oneness and the idea of good and evil, in saying that there is no evil. There is the principle within A Course in Miracles, the book A Course in Miracles, which I haven't actually read. I've just kind of picked up, bits about it here and there. But it says that all actions are love or a call for love. And so this quote of Teal Swan's definitely is in that vein of saying that anything that anyone does is actually coming from a place of love. But some are outward expressions of love, and some are, people coming from a place of pain, and thus making misguided actions coming from that place of their suffering within. Another shot of the lake here. And I do think that there is some truth to that as well, absolutely. Most certainly the misguided actions that people make in their lives are to a great extent about their personal pain. But I don't think that it's true that that all beings are either love or calling for love. I actually don't agree with that. I believe that all beings have love at their core. That God is a loving God. That all beings are divine in their deepest essence, but that some beings are so disconnected from that, and that they are at a place in their journey in which they are actually not seeking to realize that deepest essence of themselves at this time. That they are actually not desiring love. They are not desiring to be within the light of God. Because we're all on a spiritual journey here, whether we realize it or not, which has involved a journey away from God, which has involved going off on our own adventure in order to figure things out, and to a great extent rebel against the divine source, because we have to learn our lessons on our own. And within that wide spectrum of where different people are on their journey, there are those who are to a greater extent within alignment of the divine, and those who are to a greater extent still rebelling against the divine and their own true nature, and are still seeking to move away from God, and do not actually have a desire for love within the true will of their soul at this time. It doesn't mean that they are intrinsically evil. So that's the distinction here, is that I don't believe that there is anyone who is intrinsically evil, that is their true nature, is that they are bad. But I do believe that there is a distinction that can be made and that needs to be recognized between loving and unloving spirits, between those who are seeking to align with the true spiritual truths of the universe, which are in alignment with source energy, with God, with the divine, with Allah, whatever word you choose to use, and that there are those who are not in alignment with that. And who am I to judge? Obviously, I am not the one to judge, most certainly, but I do have the right to discernment, and we all have the right to discernment, and I think it is important to exercise that discernment, and to not come from a place of, well, it's all love and light, it's all good, we're all one, and so we're all the same, because we aren't all the same. And it is my view that and this is actually to some extent based on the Right Use of Will books, which are my personal favorite spiritual reading, but as outlined in those books and just based on my own perception, then I agree with what is said in those books, that there are spirits that need to be separated, and that need to go their own way, and that need to not be mixed in with the loving spirits who are trying to practice a path of of peace and love and light and harmony. And being in the same place as these other spirits that are rebelling against God still, and are still opposed to the divine laws, and who do not have love in their hearts at this time, they need to go learn their lessons somewhere else. And you can see this in the world now, on Earth, this dynamic, and it's playing out in a massive way right now with everything that's going on in Israel and Palestine, Russia and the Ukraine, Iran and Iraq and Syria, and this ISIS group that's taking over Iraq. And I'm not going to say who's good and who's evil here or anything, but there are obviously major forces in play that are very dangerous, very nefarious. And when I talk about unloving spirits, I guess I am going to kind of point some fingers here. I'm not so much pointing fingers at like the terrorists, who, I'll just be honest about my perspective here. I think to a great extent, and this is not an excuse or a apology or giving any kind of a acceptance for terrorist acts, but I do think that many people who are performing these acts are acting out from a place of extreme pain and anger and of feeling disrespected, and that their country is being invaded, and their culture is being impinged on by outside forces, and they want to push these forces out. And what are these forces? These forces are the U.S. government, the military-industrial complex, the Western powers that are meddling in the affairs of the Middle East and stirring things up and causing extreme mayhem. And these forces of the military-industrial complex in particular are energies that create war wherever they go, no matter what. That's just what they do. That's their focus. That's all that they know is they are stuck in a paradigm of good versus evil, and they create that paradigm wherever they go because they're just completely locked into this dualistic point of view of they don't have a purpose in their lives without an enemy out there to battle against, and so they create an enemy, whatever the circumstances are. They barge in and invade people's space and piss them off, and then those people get pissed off and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Get out of here. This is my home, this is my country, this is my culture. And so these people get pissed off and push back at these forces invading their space, and then these forces say, aha, these people are pissed off, they're angry, they're evil, they must be destroyed. This is what they're doing over and over again, is just completely disrespecting the boundaries and entering territory and stealing resources. And then the people that get riled up and pissed off and want these forces out of there, and then many of them are pushed to extreme acts of terrorism, and then we say, oh, there's terrorists there, now we have to go in and deal with it. And this is a paradigm that is just completely created by these individuals who are stuck in a war mindset and have no real love in their hearts and no real understanding of their actions and how they're affecting other people, and the rightness that others have to try to push them out and get them to go their own way. So you have these unloving forces mixed up in the world that are just causing all this mayhem, And I don't believe that these forces need to be approached with a meek, open-hearted, we're going to accept and embrace you as you are because we're all one, and we know that your actions are just coming from a place of pain, and we can work this out. We can all get along just fine. We just have to understand each other, and blah blah blah. These people are not going to respond to that. They are going to continue to trample over others because they have no sensitivity. They have no way of feeling the effects of their actions. And so it is my view and understanding that there really needs to be a separation, and that these individuals that are causing this kind of these problems need to go find somewhere else, some other planet, some other dimension, whatever, to learn their lessons and figure their stuff out and be separated from God and from love for long enough that they eventually start to feel the lack of that presence, and within the truth of their being realize that they cannot exist separate because they are part of the one, that they need to be connected with the whole in some way in order to survive, that is the source of life and light, is divine source, and eventually start to have a genuine yearning or desire within themselves to be reunited, to come back into the light of God. Because as long as they're mixed in with that divine energy, and thus able to feed off of it without actually finding that connection within themselves, then they are being sustained, and they are allowed to continue on their rampage and continue causing destruction without ever being held accountable, without being stopped, and without ever truly changing, because they are not being forced to connect with their lack of connection within. So that's the problem, is that as long as they are able to continue to be supported by outside energies not of their own, which they are not actually bringing through themselves. These forces have a lot of the resources of the earth. The elites and those who are hell-bent on greed in order to feed their lack within, and which are aligned with these forces which can then be violent and go invade a foreign country in order to get their oil, because that is the source of energy that they use to sustain themselves. Just allowing this dynamic to continue to be in place is a perpetual cycle of pain and destruction being rained upon those who are just being trampled on by these insensitive forces. So there's my long answer to whether or not there is good and evil. The words are a little bit imperfect and insufficient. It depends on what exactly you mean. I don't believe that there is anyone who is intrinsically evil at their core, but there are those who are so separated from their core that they are very much unloving, ill-intentioned forces which need to be distinguished as such. That a clarity, a contrast needs to be made there because it is an act of self-denial to allow someone to be near you who you don't, in your truth, want to be near. It is an act of self-denial to allow someone to be near you who you don't, in your truth, want to be near. And so it is a act of self-denial and self-hatred to say to yourself, well, we're all one, we're all part of the same source, and so therefore I should be allowing and embracing and loving towards these people who, if I were to look within the truth of my soul, I don't want to be around. And you don't have to deny yourself in that way. It is a disservice to both yourself and to others to say, well, I'll allow you to hang around here even though I don't really want to be around you, in the context of oneness and lovingness. Why don't you want to be around them? Because something doesn't feel right there. Because you have a different energy, and you're not expressing your own truth. You're actually being dishonest by saying, okay, well, I'll just put up with this. I'll just accept this, even though that isn't actually how I feel. That's the basic concept here, is that these unloving forces are energies that anyone who is aligned with love won't feel good being around. And so it is a matter of collapsing your own energy field in order to allow those forces to actually stay near you. Whereas if you hold your boundaries and continue to claim your space from a place of power, it's very important to actually claim your power and not be meek. Because when you broadcast your own true energy, then you can hold these energies away from you that you don't want to be near, because they can't enter your energetic field. Just think of a magnet, positive and negative, and how if you take two positives, then they push away from each other. That isn't a perfect analogy, but that's kind of the basic idea, is that you can repel energies that you are not in sync with by broadcasting your own energy field from a place of your own personal power within. And to do otherwise is to be limiting and denying your own true power. So ultimately, if you were to ask me, is there good and evil, then I would be inclined to say yes, with that understanding that it is a matter of where individuals are at in their spiritual process, and recognizing this distinction between those who are aligned with love to some extent, and to those who are still in a state of complete denial of the divine flow. And yet there is still absolutely wisdom in this understanding of people acting from a place of pain and suffering, and doing the wrong things. We've all made our share of mistakes, and forgiveness is important and relevant, but it's important also to understand this dynamic, and those who are not in a place in which they are going to be changing their behavior anytime soon and still need to learn their lessons. So, all right, take care. Namaste.